Okay, we're back. Thank you for your patience. Our computer fell down. These things happen when you're flipping around. Our computer did a flip. So cool. So if I was going to come from stand, so if you're at home and you're like, I have no idea how to get into that, I'm going to bring the swing behind my back with the X in front of me. And I'm going to pull those down and get my legs in there. Okay? So if you're like, okay, I don't remember how to do that flip at all. Where does my butt go? Where do my hands go? Where do I run through? We can just do a little cheater and get those on. Okay? So one last experiment together. Let's go through it. Swagger. Nice. Really stretch it out. It's nice to be able to, can you guys feel that you can push against something and how that creates a different stretch? You're using different muscles. Right? Child's pose, how it feels to just wrap in. Blossom for star. Notice the difference with star. Keep your butt really low. Open up. Namaste. Oh yeah. And then ladle. So long lines of energy. You have to really squeeze your legs together and press them down. Arms overhead. So your palms are going to stay at, just bring your hands, have your hands touch your thighs, and then bring your arms straight overhead. So your thumbs touch the ground, and then roll your palms up. So this is a nice keeping the alignment, right? Just like we do with our cool Jesus move. So it's nice to just have this floating position. You can bring your hands down. I call it a wheelie when we come into a handstand and a back bend. But most of the time, I like palms up for this one. The wheelie is a good one. Named after me, of course. All right, we're jumping around for the swing, come to sit. Let's do wow together. It's really worth it. Okay? Yeah, come sit. So just even notice the thigh master, right? It's just so awesome to feel the energy being pulled towards the center line. I have this much energy being pulled towards the center line when you guys do your ladle without the leg loops crossed, okay? It's so cool. Transition to the arches of the feet. Not sure if everybody got to try this. Now we're pressing our legs away, okay? We're gonna grab for the outer leg loop, just wherever you can reach. Grab one. We're gonna press our legs away, keep that V, and then pull straight up and down, arch and open. Externally rotate the biceps. Yes. You might do a little spin here. You can kind of play some angular momentum. And then come to sit. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, lots of angular momentum. Yeah, if your legs are nice and wide, you can create a little bit more stability when they come towards the center line, maybe kind of as it. Come on down. So that's X Factor. With all its delicious variations. So what I love about X Factor is you can enter into all the other poses from there. Okay, does that feel good? Yeah, it's kind of like our turtle pose. So look up and notice how your leg loops are on, so you can try to mimic this at home. It took me only like 5 years to figure this out, so get like the expedited version. If somebody couldn't get their feet through, I'd be like, well, that was the one shot. Now we have our little cheater. So come on out and reverse it so you can see how to just, how you take them off is how you put them on, right? So you have one leg loop go through, and then the other leg loop go through. Does that make sense? Does everybody feel clear? All right. It just was very complicated for me, so I'm just making sure. Okay, let's take a little pause. Notice how you feel. How do the shoulders feel? How does the lower back feel? Does everybody feel squeezed? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, hips heavy, legs internally spiraling, core activation, arching from the upper thoracic, stacking the bones. We didn't talk about stacking the bones too much, but we're going to start incorporating that into everything we do, especially when we come into forward folds, that kind of thing. So the legs during the internal spiral, let's just work that out, and then we're going to drop into a half Buddha position and try it. So internally spiraling and dropping the hips. So just splay your hips out and start to rock your hips back. And I want you to do this with your hands at the same time. Splay your hips out and then rock your hips back. Okay? Out, splaying out, and then rocking back. Okay? Now, I want us to use our feet too. Splay your hips out and turn your toes out. Okay, this looks like most guys, you know. And now when we rock our hips back, we're going to turn our toes in, pitch and toe. Feel that difference? Yeah, that's the one, internal spiral. Nobody has a problem doing this, right? This is the whole ballerina thing too, okay? This is a line that is not open on very many people, okay? So rock your hips back, not your head. So don't lose our pillar in any of these poses, right? You can rock your hips back without looking down or moving your head. It's actually really important. So you don't have to bring your head forward either, just your hips. So splay your hips out, rock your hips in. Don't move the rest of your body. Isolate it if you can. Everyone's moving with their head. It's okay, let's just try it. Let's just try isolating. Notice what happens with the feet. Okay. When you splay your hips out, then your feet turn out. When you splay your hips in, your feet turn in. Now keep your feet planted, toes pointing center, and then feel that without moving your toes. Toes pointing forward. Hip distance, right? Find your hips. So if you push your heels out without moving your feet, it internally spirals the legs, okay? So when in doubt, I try to give you these little, we'll call them shortcuts, but sometimes they're cheaters. So just press your outer heels away from one another and feel what happens in your sacrum, okay? It spreads. Very good. Okay. So let's try that in a pose. Just that one little bite, okay? So we've been talking about pubic bone too. So notice if you push your pubic bone forward, which way does that go? Does that externally rotate or internally? It externally rotates. If you pull your pubic bone back and down, what happens then? Does that internally rotate? Good. So when I say drop your pubic bone, it's my shortcut for internally spiral your hips. But like most people don't know what that is. So if you just rock your pubic bone back and down, so let's come to a sumo squat. It doesn't matter if your legs are in a wide straddle, you can still internally spiral. Okay, so we're gonna play with that. So can we drop our pubic bone back and down and keep the internal spiral even if our legs are open or closed? Okay, so it's our hips that we're moving from. Inhale, lift. Reaching up towards the sky, make sure you're right underneath your plumb line, everybody's mats are centered. Hug the swing, oh thank God we made it. We made it this far. Press the swing down, press the swing down. Will you check, Sam, to see if that's working on your phone? Thank you, just keep checking on it, especially if we start a new one. It should just be public. Okay, lean back into it. So sumo by this time should be like second nature, right? This is our go-to pose. So we have our diamond with the arms and we're gonna slide in all the way to the top of the mat. Heel toe wide, 10 and 2. Okay? Let your hips rock a little bit from side to side. Can you drop your pubic bone back and down? Back and down. Cool. Everybody's looking good. Sam, after you check that, will you bring Carolyn's swing up just one? She's looking a little low.
I need to find a new location of that.
Awesome. So roll the hips around, same thing. Pubic bone back and down. Turn your heels out without moving your toes. Turn your heels out. Pressure, yes, without turning your toes this time. Just turn your heels out. Yeah. Does anybody feel a difference in their legs? Without moving your toes, bring your toes back to 45, turn your heels out. Push your heels out, yeah. Without moving your knees, just let it come from right here. It feels real different in the sacrum. So we're isolating these different parts and it's kind of like a ton of detail, but it really makes a difference. Okay? Okay, great. Can you check the volume too for me? Thank you. Okay, just check every once in a while, make sure we're good. Let's press back. Okay, so even here, so this is an external rotation, right? So see what happens when you drop your pubic bone, see what happens when you lift your pubic bone. Keep your upper body in your chillaxing, supported back bend. And just drop your pubic bone and lift your pubic bone. We're moving and starting to mobilize the SI joints. Maybe move your hips around a little bit in space if that feels too intense. So this is a really important joint in the body that gets very stuck, that gets very sticky. We get stuck in the upper thoracic and then we get stuck at the sacrum. Okay? All right, come on back to sumo. Anybody want to tell me what you're noticing?
More inner thigh activation when I rotate in. Me and feel those activate versus my lower back.
It's not so easy to connect to the inner rotation when you're in a straddle.
It's different, yeah. Yeah, it's easy if you just drop your knees, right? Then that's obvious, but that's the legs. So if we just do it from the pelvis, no matter what position our knees are in, the next part is gonna be fun. Thank you, you're like queuing that up. Do you wanna be a little bit higher, Charlie?
Maybe my lower.
Yeah, just up one, if you can reach. Let's reach with our right hand. Let's go ahead and get the leg loop on the ankle. So we're in our half Buddha. Okay, half Buddha. You need to adjust this, give it a little hop, but it's gonna hook the wings and then you're gonna press real strong so your upper body stays engaged. Okay, everybody good? Okay, so I call this wagging the tail. I do a lot of wagging in the practice because there's tightness in the joints. And what we're wanting to do is create some lubrication. So we're lubricating the hip joints is what I say. So what we're gonna do is after we wag for a few rounds and just get the hip loose. Is anybody feeling tightness in their hips? Anyone?
Yes.
Nobody? Okay. This is a spot. This is the spot. You know, upper back and then lower body right here in this girdle. I'll call it the hip girdle. So what we're gonna do is practice that external rotation when we come in. External rotate, so bring your foot to center line, and then externally rotate your toes, flex your toes back, in towards the center line even more, thank you. Thank you. And then when we bring our leg out, then we're gonna internally rotate. So it isn't gonna be difficult after we get this down. So leg comes out, but then we internally rotate. Flex the toes back, that keeps the knee happy. Otherwise, we're just bending at the knee. The knee does not like, trust me on that one, save you guys a lot of trouble. Okay, so bring the leg in and then externally rotate. Anybody feel a stretch there? Yeah, so to the center line so you can see it. And then you don't need to do this with your hand, it's just and then internally rotate. Take your hand and help the thigh down, push down, and then in, down and then in. This is called plugging in the femur, okay? Plugging the femur to the hip socket. Does anybody feel some tightness there? Yeah, so don't go so far. So you're really off your center line, so come back to center. Yeah, so don't go as far, let it come, yeah, let it come from here. So all you're doing is kinking your hip out to the side, right? Yeah, not to draw attention to your hips. Your hips are like, shh, don't let her talk to her hips. But let it come from the joint. Yes, it's not gonna be a big movement. So your toes roll in towards me. That's all right, just as long as, yeah, that's right, we identify where the tightness is, that's all we're doing. We're like, oh, we found it. So leg comes in, external rotation, leg goes out, internal rotation. So we can find that internal rotation even when we're in a wide straddle. Does that make more sense now? Yeah. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that leg loop off, come into sumo, and find that same internal rotation. Yeah. Can you find it now? Can you push your thighs down and then in and back and feel that rocks your pubic bone back and down? So one of the things that you can do is just drop your pubic bone back and down and that'll internally rotate, right? Let's try the other side. We're gonna come back. This is really intense stuff. Let's get into it. So lifting the left foot up, getting the leg loop at the ankle. Does anybody need me to slow down or is this a good pace, okay? Because we don't want to open up the hips too quickly. So first thing we do is we just wag. You don't have to worry about any alignment, anything like that, just wag. What we're doing is bringing some more juice into this joint that might be stuck. It might just be dry, you know what I mean? We're kind of like getting a little WD-40 in there. Awesome. If nobody's feeling this in the hip, let me know and I'll help you get a deeper experience. But no, usually this is enough, right? Nobody's laughing at my jokes today. This is really disappointing. I'm gonna stop wearing glitter on Sundays if you guys don't find this funny. All right. What's up? Yeah, hamstring.
Why more or less glitter?
No, it's just not gonna happen. Okay. Was there a question? No? Okay. So now when we bring the foot in, let's externally rotate. We can switch this up too, but let's try this so we get so even more to the center line, so you can, yeah, there you go. And then internally rotate. Let it come from the hip joint. Let your hand help if you need to ground it down. If it tries to kink out to the side, ground it down. Toes are gonna roll in, flex the foot, it's really important. Well, you got that rotation down. See if you can drop your hips a little bit more. Yeah, so instead of that, it's this. Carolyn, drop your hips more. Yeah, there you go. And now just let it come from the hip joint, there you go. It's okay to go like this. You're like, oh, I got this, but let's really isolate the femur in the hip socket. Maybe there's not a whole lot of movement. It's okay, go nice and slow, micro movements, back and forth on the, oh, everyone put your hand in your hip crease. Get in there. Still stay engaged. Did you lose the upper body engagement, right? You have to pull down strongly. Where are the lats, right? Which muscle group do we need to engage? The lats. Yeah, that's it. Those are the lats. It's a strong practice, not even doing very much, right? So rotating in, rotating out. So feel like it's loosening up maybe even just a tiny little bit.
So you're completely different side.
Yeah, they're two legs, two different legs. They only hang out together sometimes. Walking in circles. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and release that foot. Supported back bend. Supported back bend never felt so good, right? Give it up. It's intense on the underarms. We're not going to stay here. I just wanted to try 2 more poses so we can play with the internal and external rotation. I know it's challenging to marry creating that symphony in the body, the orchestration of all the different alignment principles, but let's just see how many we can hold on to. Get them all to work together. Most importantly, keep your pillar. Right, the dynamic tension is number 1. Keep your pillar. Come on back to center. Inhale, open the arms wide. Exhale, grab for the right leg loop. Lift, use your core. Lift, we're gonna do core activations next. Yay. Get that foot in there. Okay, so when we externally rotate, we're gonna come into a pigeon pose. Okay, so we can push the knee down, increase the external rotation, pull the knee up, come more into internal rotation. Press the knee down, hold on to whatever you can reach, but hold on to something. Charlotte, you wanna hold on? Where? Oh, yeah, the thing, the foot, the knee. Externally rotate. Okay. Now we're going to keep holding on to the leg loop. This is very important. Don't forget to hold on to, this is your anchor point, stabilizing. Now we're going to internally rotate all the way down so the knee points down. Yeah, internally rotate. There you go. And now let your other foot step out to 9 o'clock on your mat. All the way to the edge. Yeah, thank you. Don't let go of your anchor. Pull it in. Very good. So now we can inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Everybody's hips are facing that wall, right? Square your hips to that side wall. I pull my foot in really tight towards my bum. Pull it in. That's the stretch. We inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Keep that internal rotation of the leg, and you'll get a great stretch through the quad. If you can hook the back arm, hook the elbow to keep it in nice and tight, that is the stretch. Only if it feels good. Now can we pull up through our core? Now a lot of times we're just arching in our lower back here. Can we pull up through our core? Yes. Pull up through the core. Let's just come to stand. Come on out. That's nice. Exit. So in order to keep that foot in there, you have to keep the foot flexed. And when you pull the leg tight towards your body, then it's going to be hooked better. Some people feel like their foot is going to fall out. Okay, second side. Anybody need a little breather? Pretty good. Fluff up the back a little. It's a little intense on the wings after yesterday. Pressing the swing down a little bit faster, stepping into our sumo, diamond with the arms, heel toe, 10 and 2. So in this position, we push our heels in which direction? Out. Yes. Hug the swing. Always keep that hook. And then reach for the leg loop with both hands. Karate chop it up there. We're gonna work on core next, but for now, just karate chop it up there, get the foot in, extend. Okay? Externally rotate. Pull the foot in towards the body. So just because we focus on the internal rotation doesn't mean we don't ever externally rotate. You know, same with the upper body. It's just like, this is the movement that is dominant, and we want to keep those in balance. So it's like a wheel. You want it to spin in both directions. So go ahead and pull that closer to the body. See how that feels. Notice what's tight around the hip that's limiting the movement. Every single private session I do, we do this half Buddha sequence. Every single person who comes in, is your pubic bone tucked down and under, right? Can that internal rotation happen into the pubic bone? Did that intensify things when you tried to do that? Did anybody feel that? It was like the whole room, the eyes lit up. Okay, so when we pull in, it's a different pose than when we press down with the knee. So we try both. Keep holding onto your hook. So right hand reach as high as it can. Turn the knee in, internal rotation down towards the earth. Pull the knee towards the center line. Does that make sense? Center line. The knee has to pull in, otherwise if it's flaring out, you're not getting that internal rotation. Square the hips to the side wall, keep holding on. I like to hold on with both hands. Okay. Spread out, so you have to let the hips spread. So this is the counterbalance to all of the chilaxin, sumo, seated positions where our hip flexor is short. Now we're lengthening through the hip flexor. Can that pull in towards your butt a little closer? Mm-hmm. So that's how we keep the leg loop on as we pull it in close to our body. We can hook with our elbow, and we can lift and lower just so we can kind of come out of the pose and come back in. But even the lift, we're pulling up through our belly and through our core. It's still a strong quad stretch. You guys feeling that in your quad? Yeah. All the way up into the belly, through the psoas. So this is a great sequence to get that front line open. It's tight. The quads tend to be extremely tight for people, and then that goes into the lower back. So it's connected to the hip flexor. Okay, we're just going to come to stand to come out of that one. Okay, and then when you come to stand, can you get your internal rotation? Can that just become your stance? You know, if you go back to this, it's okay, but just see if the toes can point forward, your pubic bone tucks down and back, and at the same time, your tailbone is pressing towards your pubic bone is pressing towards your tailbone, and that lifts you straight up. It's like this pressure between, it's like the Kundi energy can run up the spine. So most people do too much of one or the other. They're either ducking, because you don't want to duck, you know what I mean, when they stick their butt out, because that means your tailbone isn't pushing towards your pubic bone. And they push towards one another, and then you can pull up through your core. It's like a fountain of energy coming up through the top. That's it. Everybody's pillars look so much stronger now that we've done the lower loop. Anybody have any questions about that?
I feel like I'm arching a little bit when I do the pelvic down thing, so is that okay, or is that just
Yes.
well?
The balance point, not too much, too far one way or the other. Stack, right? And so the pubic bone and tailbone have to push towards one another evenly. So maybe push your tailbone down and in towards the pubic bone as your pubic bone is pushing down and in towards your tailbone. Those have to be even. So yeah, if you want to know the little cheater in terms of alignment, your hip bone should be directly over your ankle bone. So if you go back too much, you're going to be below, you're going to be behind your ankle bone. If you push your hips too far forward, you're going to be in front of your ankle bone. So ideally, we have to find out where our hip bones are. So that has to be directly over the ankle is the correct anatomical alignment. So let's come to the wall. Everybody find a position on the wall. I'm going to try and stay within the camera. This was the little bit I wanted to show you with using the wall to find the placement of our head. Yeah, you might want to remove your ponytail if it's in the way. So once you're standing against the wall, if you put your ankles against the wall, and you put your butt against the wall, can you put your head against the wall? And then just push forward with your chest to push the back of your head into the wall. Find the back of your head. Push that into the wall. And now see if you can pull your ribs in. So you're trying to get your kidneys to the wall. See what happens. So most people have a lot of difficulty getting their head against the wall. Chin's level with the earth. Don't lose that position either, right? chin level with the earth, and see how that feels. Really push your head strongly into the wall, pulling up through your core. So that's a good exercise to do if you're like wanting to get that upper body. So we're just using that solid plane. Is anybody having difficulty with that? Is anybody flaring out through their ribs? Does anybody feel like they're flaring out through their ribs?
My ribs do.
The ribs do flare out. So that's why we have to push our kidneys into the wall. And then usually you can feel it in the lower back if you do that. So there's that big arch that most people have when they're just, you know, I'm overextended through my lumbar. So that's why I had all kinds of back pain for 15 years. So I've had to learn how to bring the arch up to the upper back, let the head come back, let the kidneys come back. So use the wall if you ever need to find it, and then try to like tuck the rib cage in and up. That's core activation, which we're gonna do next. Okay, because if you just arch and kind of push, you know, you can put your butt on the wall, put your head on the wall, and just do a big thing here. It's very popular. So you have to really pull in and up. And that's why we do a lot of the core activation using the entire torso. Okay, so let's go over that again. Come back in, we're gonna do our half Buddha, plank toe touches. Like we did before. And then we're gonna try our plank toe touches without the leg loop extended, okay? So we'll do the more therapeutic version, and then we'll do the more advanced version. We're good until we have plenty of time coming into our sumo. We'll take a break about 1:40. So yeah, we're gonna do X Factor, half Buddha, then we might get into our ultimate 5-minute workout and then take a break, but we can do that when we're coming back too. Always hug the swing. I'm just reminding of the anchors. If nothing else, teach the hook and the anchors. That's when I say don't let go. I'm emphasizing it with my voice so you guys remember. Always have at least one hook, 2 or 3 if you can. Right hand grabs for the leg loop. Arms are straight, pulling straight down, nice and strong. Lift the knee and touch. Nope. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, squeeze, pull down even more. So the pulling down is the key. Notice what muscle group you're using to pull down, right? So we're using all 3 muscle groups in the core to lift that if we're pulling down. It's very strong. If it's not hard, you're in the wrong place. This is challenging. This is all we need to do. And then the next one we can lift. We get the ankle in there. Woo! Just even getting that on, that's our core activation. So we always want to make sure when we're strengthening the core, we have proper alignment, which means our head is directly over our body, our pubic bone, our hips are sinking down, so dropping the hips down is that shortcut to get that grounding and internal spiral. And then from there, we're gonna just hold on to the swing with the right hand. We're gonna pick up the left foot to meet, we're kind of doing a little shortcut here. Pick up the left foot to meet the right foot, straight legs. Press the hips up, lean back, come into a plank. So your right hand's gonna float overhead. Plank. Nice and tight. Then you're going to toe touch. Okay? Plank, toe touch. Can you touch your toe? Everybody touch your toe. If your leg seems really long, pull your foot down to meet your hand, which means you're grounding your sit bone. You're really grounding the femur. Yeah, if it seems too long, pull it down. So stay here for me. Pull your foot down. Hold on to it, pull it down. Yeah. Can you feel that grounding into the joint? Now, all of a sudden, your leg isn't too long. Keep pushing your hips up, even if you pull your foot down. Plank, toe touch. Kind of like that. Make sure you're touching your toes. Your leg is not too long if you're plugging in to the hip socket. After we do 10, we're going to come into dancer. Long arms, long legs. Now, if you're using your head there, your neck is not going to be very happy, so try to keep that alignment where the head stays in line with the body. And then bend the knee. Let's do a stretch for the belly. Okay, you can keep holding on with your right hand, with your left hand, pardon me. And then if you want to hold on to the foot with both hands, come into half lotus or version of it. Yeah. Stretch the belly after doing the core. Okay, let's come through a floating Buddha. Lift up, get the leg lift on. Nice. So watch the head. We want to keep our heads attached to our body at all times. We don't want to just hang it off the end there. It's going to create a lot of tension if we do that. Okay? Windshield wipers, sway from side to side. Take a pause. Awesome. So this is our time to work on our alignment. So where's your pillar? Where are your chillaxin arms? So windshield wipers with chillaxin arms. Pulling straight up and out. So everybody pulling straight up and out. Dropping your hips. Second side, come to center. We're gonna let the right foot come down at first, like we're in our half Buddha. Okay, other foot comes down. Let's see if we can do 10 core activations with the leg loop pulling down. So both hands grab for the left. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lengthen. Or if you prefer, exhale, squeeze. Inhale, lengthen. Find your favorite breath. But just make sure one's an inhale and the other one's an exhale for 10. Squeeze. Arms pulling down even more. Nice and strong. You're going to have amazing pecs after this. And then last one, get the foot in there. Even that is such an amazing workout, right? Give your upper body a break whenever it needs. Okay. So we're going to go right into plank toe touches. Right foot finds the left. Keep holding on with your right hand so your left hand can come out like a board, straight line. And then toe touch. Inhale, plank. Exhale, toe touch. Inhaling. So we're doing this to remember all the alignment principles. We're not just doing this to get some exercise. So is your head in line with your body? Okay, support your head with your hand and just bring elbow to knee, but keep the legs straight. If your head is trying to lead the way, press the back of your head into your hand and let your leg lift and use your core, and you'll notice it's a lot harder. And that's usually why we yank on our head, because our core is being compromised. Come into dancer, long arms, long legs towards the ground. Big belly stretch. Push the back of the head into an invisible wall, even here, so the back of the neck is long. So your chin is still level, so don't tuck your chin in to get the back of the neck long. Both sides stay long. Bend the knee and grab for the foot. One hand or both hands. Okay, just get a big stretch to the front body. And then reach up and grab for the swing, come to sit, release. All right. Core activation, sumo squat for just a couple breaths. Sumo, one more time. Woo. So anybody else want to do some more core? Is everybody up for it?
I have a question about the planks. I've noticed with some people the swing is going lower than others, and mine was staying kind of high, and all of the positions really hurt. It was not comfortable. Not just because it's a hard exercise, but it's like, feels like pressing.
Below the kidneys, yeah. Below the
So
kidneys.
you have to actually, then that should be a cue in there to tell people that where the swing needs to be for that. I just feel like it wasn't there today.
Yeah, well, it just has to slide into a comfortable spot. So yeah, if it is on the kidneys, it's not gonna feel great. So it's on a diagonal. So we're gonna really notice it here. It's not gonna be straight across. And so you just have to kind of wiggle until it gets into a sweet spot, because it's one of those poses that we're gonna try it from a standing position. Everybody come on up. So the swing isn't gonna be flat across the back because it's gonna be kind of like this, right? So what we wanna make sure is that it's high on one side and low on the other side, so that way the cue is a little challenging. Usually it'll just slide in or wiggle around until you find it. But if it's squeezing a kidney, you wanna move. Make sure the organs are happy during the process. So from a standing position, when we come into our plank toe touches, we come in through a wide leg diagonal. So we're gonna go wide leg diagonal wrap. Okay, so I'm gonna lean back. See, I'm using my forearm strongly. I push it down to my hips. So I already get it nice and low. I'm gonna walk my feet to the front of the mat so I'm under my plumb line. I hold on and I'm gonna push away with my right hand as I kick up so I have some leverage. And then this is where you slide in. So this position where I slide in, this is kind of where it hooks, right? So you want to come to a sit so that the left side of the swing slides up to your armpit. And then my foot is going to be out to 3 o'clock on your mat. And if you pick up your foot, you're going to be right underneath your plumb line. So you're not kind of like pushing into the ground, you're more like sliding yourself in. So the leg has to wrap all the way around. Yeah, just keep the knee bent if you need.
Just challenging if the hamstrings are tight.
You just keep the knee bent a lot, and then the hamstring will be fine. So you have to push it down nice and low to get it wrapped. So start from a standing position and push it down to the hips. If it's up too high, it's hard to wrap the leg. Okay. And then the rest of the head, just let this be kind of a relaxation pose. So the diagonal leg wrap is a good way to start your morning practice. Just roll out of bed and just fall into the swing like this. I do, it's possible. And then when we pick up our left foot, we're gonna lean back. And so the swing has to be adjusted. So that's where you adjust it on your back pattern to find a good position. Right? Plank. So plank toe touches. You can do the dancer version if you like to try it. But what you're doing is you're keeping your pillar. And everybody kind of self-regulate and get the alignment. Because if you can get it for yourself, you can definitely share it with others then, but it has to be in the body. And it can be with a head supported, knee to elbow, but we're bringing our leg towards the sky. And then extending. So try the dancer version. So you just have a big arch, and then when you toe touch, it takes a little bit more oomph. Okay, so dancer, long arms, long legs, and then toe touch. Then if you want to bend the knee, you grab the foot, one hand or both hands. So then you have to wiggle the swing into a sweet spot. So that might take a minute. So if it doesn't feel good, don't go further. Go back and adjust it. However way that looks. Let's switch in the air. Wrap both legs around. Peaceful warrior. Keep the left leg wrapped. Right leg is going to come down and out to 9 o'clock for you guys. That's a big swing, right? Did a semicircle there. We pull ourselves up to a seated position so that the right side of the swing is going to ride underneath the armpit, and then it's a diagonal across the back. But right now it should be above the kidneys, so try that. Try to drop your hips even more. Let this swing on the left side be above the kidneys, approximately. Does that feel better? Yeah, it does. Yeah, I find it a bit of a dance to get it in just the right spot across the back so that everybody's happy back there. It is really amazing for the QL when we get it right, because we're actually working one side of the QL at a time. It's the quadratus lumborum. So there's about 60 pages in the front of your AYRx manual that goes over a lot of the functionalities and systems of the body. And I just left that as reading material. But they all have links. So you can just click on that link in your e-manual, and then that'll bring you to the page where it'll describe more of these muscle groups and things like that. Head over the body, right? Yeah. So you can just be aware if there's, the hips, are they tight? Is anybody feeling this in the piriformis? The piriformis is along the iliac crest, closer to the back. It's a big stretch. It's really hard to stretch this muscle. That's why I ask you guys to relax into it. It feels like you could drop in a little bit more. No?
Getting in front of the hip.
Does it feel good?
Playing with it a little
Oh,
bit.
play with it, sure. Just wondering if you were tight anywhere. Maybe.
What happens when you
Yeah, fully extend.
go more forward?
Okay, so now we're gonna hold on with our right hand. So we always have that anchor point that our left hand can sink back. Now, if we don't pick up our foot first, notice what happens. So if you're wondering what order to do this in, I've been teaching it where you lift your leg first, right? And then lean back into a plank. I usually find that easier to keep the line so I don't overarch, and then toe touch. So don't use your head. Let your head be the last thing that lifts because you're pressing the back of your head into that invisible wall and you're just pulling your foot up towards the sky and let your hand reach towards your toes. Okay? After we do 10 of those, and that feels good, nice long line of energy, then we can come into dancer. So dancer is long arm, long leg, almost touching the floor, and then big sit up. Toe touch. Don't use your head though. Keep pushing the back of the head into that invisible wall. And see if you can keep your pillar even here. You'll probably find it a little bit more challenging. And then after you do 10, come into a bow. Okay? Then, okay? Let's bend the knee all the way back. Hold on to the foot. And then grab it with both hands if that's available.
Is there a particular placement that's ideal for the swing to be on the back? Or just wherever it naturally
Well, yeah, thank you. So Sam? You know, talking into things, okay? It's really distracting for me and I want to be able to hear the questions up here. Okay, so the swing across the back, where is it supposed to be? Let's go over this one more time because this is really challenging. And if you have questions, just ask me. I'm happy to help you and slow it down and reverse it so we can figure this out. So it's on a diagonal. So when I lean back, it's low on one side and a little bit higher on the other. And then when I slide in, I just give it a little wiggle and then it becomes more even. You're not gonna find a really comfortable spot, but you're gonna find a spot that feels a little better. Okay. So you have to let it roll down a little bit more towards your hips. Yeah, just wiggle and it'll come down. Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Yeah.
Petra is just asking, should it feel good? And I would say, no should, like there's no absolutely should.
It's an intense pose.
If it doesn't feel good or it doesn't feel bad, don't do it.
It is an advanced pose, and we did the more therapeutic one from the half Buddha, and I was showing you the more active one so that, you know, that intensity is going to reflect in the way it feels because it's a deep squeeze across the waist. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't.
Recommend that for people who have a real sway back already. Like if folks are already swayed in their low back and their core is perhaps needs more engagement, would you recommend a deep extension like that?
Well, I use the half lotus as a balance. So we stretch the belly after doing core because what we don't want is this too. You see people walking around, okay, what's up? They've over contracted through their core and they've pulled their entire body forward. So we're trying to find alignment. So the key in this practice is balance and alignment, right? So we don't want to overextend or over contract. So the idea is when we strengthen something, we immediately stretch it open.
And I would just say, because I am the bendy person.
Yeah.
But there's a way to do it, which I've been playing with a lot, where I'm stabilizing. I can still hold my foot, but I'm not like doing that. I mean, so, and that's a bendy people will be able to do that. Right?
I try to teach people who are over flexible, over hypermobile, because there's lots of them that I work with. I try to teach them to create more stabilization through these alignment principles that I'm sharing with you guys. So opening up from the upper thoracic spine, keeping the internal spiral by pulling the knees towards one another. So when we're in a bow pose and we're stacking, that internal rotation, the same way, that hurts the lower back for people who are hyperextended because they're so used to crunching the lumbar spine. But if we back off, get the alignment, and then extend from the heart, then we're not just bending at the lumbar and pinching that area that's already curved. So I think it's really important to start to teach that at first. They're not going to do it correctly, but then when you introduce these principles, it helps. It helps a lot along the way to have people back off. When I redid my yoga, I call it redoing it, I had to back way off because I was doing everything incorrectly. It was all splayed out, right? So what I'm teaching with the swing, which was hard to do in yoga without the swing, is to create a container, right? So we create a container for our energy that's plugging in the joints, and then we extend out from that container, not just extend out, right? So Too much contraction is no good, too much extension is no good. Can we really find the play between those two?
Yeah, it's tricky for some folks if they don't
Yeah.
sense their own body in space, if they don't see what their body is doing. That's why it's great to be in person, of course.
Yes.
And have eyes, sensitive eyes on them, because I see it a lot, like folks just overdo it.
Yeah.
And bring it in, more stability.
Yeah, so I always go up to them and I say, hey, it would be really great to do a private session. Like right now, you and Petra are not in a private session. That's why I'd like the talking to be a little bit minimized and just be right here and present. But Petra, it'd be great to do a private session about that, And that's all I'll say to a person in a class setting.
It's relevant, for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that it's unrelevant. I usually in a class setting will go up to someone and be like, oh, I'd love to work with you. Why don't you come to a private session with me and we'll just focus on that, because you can't get everyone to do it in a class perfectly. Most people are either collapsed. Have we seen that in the workshops? Some people are collapsed. Some people are overextended. And that's why we're trying to find that sweet spot between the two.
Here's a question. So you do want to do that,
Back
for the reverse extension, what would be a modification you could show to someone who couldn't do that full back bend, for example? Because I couldn't do it at first.
Yeah, so dancer so every step along the way is a pose. And if you can't do a pose, reverse it to the last pose. So let's just do a demo and just watch me for one round, just one demo, okay? So we do our plank toe touches, and then we come into dancer. So this is it, this is the counter pose. Okay, so maybe that's enough.
But what if that's hard for someone?
Then you don't do it. That's it.
But it's another way to stretch out the front of the body.
Well, yeah, there's 100 ways, but this is in this sequence, and you can make it up and be creative, but in this sequence, it goes from a plank toe touch to a dancer, and if that is feeling good, then bending the knee and grabbing with one foot, extend the arm. If that's feeling good, then you can grab with both feet, extend the arms and legs. But if you would back up if one of those are difficult, you don't have to nobody is getting gold stars today, which I just joke around and say that because it's not showy. Like when I said, it's about feeling it in your body. It's not about how it looks. We've been taught to really overvalue the way a pose looks and trying to have it be the performance thing, instead of just feeling like that doesn't feel good. Let me just back up. It's just a little openness. How can you open up the belly there? It's just an arm extended, right? So if it is going to your lower back, I would say listen to that and back off and work with the heart. Work with opening the heart. What we want to do is make sure we're lengthening the muscle while we're strengthening it. And I'll just keep repeating these cues, even though I know you're like, she just said that. We want to lengthen and strengthen. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're putting pressure on the discs. We're contracting or congesting an area that already is having trouble, usually pain, right? We want to get more blood and circulation to the area. So if we don't do any sort of lengthening there, then we're kind of suffocating that area. And then muscles get not only tight, but dry. I always use the analogy in my practice, like a sponge on the side of your sink that hasn't been used for a little while, and it's impossible, right? It feels like dry and brittle. That's how our bodies get. So what we want to do is lubricate the joints first, undulate the spine, go into a bigger movement, and then just make sure we're not overextending and over-contracting. So we just do a little bit in each direction. Very good questions. Thank you for asking. We can just take a break from here. Come back 5 minutes before 2. Okay, if you want to go somewhere, I suggest just kind of sitting and we can ask more questions, looking through the manual, just kind of like making sure that everything is making sense to you. There's no specific spot you need to go. In the e-manual, we're working on the lower body. So we are back in, and look through and see if you have questions. The body models start on page 128. And I love these amazing templates. I'll just show you guys here. So the templates have been divided, and there's a body model on my website that you can go and click on each part of the body, and a video will pop up. It's connected to the 30-day swing challenge that I told you guys about. So you want to work on shoulders, you click on the shoulder, the video pops up, you watch that. So I created this body model a couple years ago that is really cool. And so it's gonna go over which therapeutic poses to use for that part of the body, the benefits and the focus. And then what you wanna do is look up that there's templates for each one of those poses. And if you look up those poses, you're gonna see that there are focal points and benefits, practice, alignment principles, variations and stretches. Because just like we did in plank toe touches, that was just 2 variations, right? There's lots of variations on the same pose. So it's fun to just flip through these, read them, let me know if you have any questions. Lori was sweet enough to help me with these, which took like about 1,000 hours, but we made pretty templates for you guys because there is a written version. And just look at that, you know, flip back past page 128 and notice it's all written down. And for me, that my brain doesn't work that way. It starts on page 119 and it shows the poses and it has a little bit of a description of those poses. And some people like written. I personally like kinesthetic, I like practicing, so the videos work best for me because I'm gonna need to get in the swing and repeat it and go over it over and over again. Where if I did screenshots or if I did pictures of each one of the poses, I'd have to do like 30 pictures for one pose to really talk about the movements and go from this to that. So the pictures are good, but they're not as fleshed out as the videos, right? So I learn better through this kind of kinesthetic watching and repeating, but it is written. And then the visual for me really helps with the templates. So read over those and let me know if you have any questions about a pose. You are welcome to make suggestions. Let me know what you want to do today. This is for you, okay? If anybody is feeling like they need a break, then take a break and watch, you know? But I'd love for you guys to just give 100%, whatever that means for you. You know, just show up fully, make this your own. You have my full attention, so if there's something you want to do, I'll work it in. There's time. I also would like to do some more yoga-sage today, and I was thinking of doing that in inversions, because the yoga-sage inversions would be more of an advanced way of using the swing. And today we're focusing on lower back, right? So lower body. Questions about the lower body. We're also going to, of course, incorporate upper body. But what I'd like to do is our ultimate 5-minute workout. We're going to cover our standing poses again with some more variations and move into some flips and splits and do some more acrobatics this afternoon. So if you are going to eat, just eat a little bit, have a snack, but it is good to have a little nourishment. And then I'm going to do some restorative with Supta Baddha and some acrobatic with Supta Baddha. So we have a few really fun poses coming up. The ultimate 5-minute workout is going to be reviewing Superfly. Okay, so we'll take a pause here. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. Thank you guys so much.